Welcome to episode 18 of the Young Athena podcast. Super excited to be here with Brekken Youngberg. And actually, this podcast is extra special today. So most of the other young women that we interview on this podcast are all graduates from GCU Young Athena program. And what makes this episode so special is that Brekken is actually a high school student. So 2 years ago, the Young Athena program launched a high school session because most of the college-aged women were asking for, they would say things like, I wish I would have had this when I was in high school. And by the third or fourth time that we actually heard them say that, we were like, oh, maybe we should be launching a high school program. So we did. So you actually came in the second summer of us actually launching the Young Athena High School program. We do it as one-day retreat style on summer break so that high school students can participate. So I'm super excited to chat with you about this experience because our goal and our mission through the Young Athena program is actually to empower young women to own who they are. And you are the first high school student I get to interview. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is super exciting.
Awesome. Well, with that, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to our audience so they have an idea on who you are and where you're from and all the things you enjoy.
Okay. My name is Brekken Youngberg. Just like she said, I'm a 15-year-old high school student. I'll be going into my sophomore year of this upcoming school year. I go to a school called Vanguard in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. It is a hands-on project-based learning school, and it's not like your typical high school where you sit down and you have textbooks. You are outside and you're in the woods, or you're fly fishing, or you're doing a carnival for your math final. And it's just nothing like everyone. It's a non-traditional school, but it's still considered a public school. It's nothing like expensive or fancy or something like that. It's just a new opportunity for high school students to go into.
I love that. So it's like innovative, experiential learning instead of like
Yes.
traditional. Okay, cool. That's what I ascribe to too. I love teaching experiential learning because I feel like when I'm put in the experience and actually have to apply the learning, I learn it so much faster and so much deeper. So I love that. I didn't even know there was schools like that.
I
Yeah.
learned that I have to see it. If I can listen to it, I can read it, and I can tell you what page it's on, but I cannot tell you the answer to it. I have to see it and I have to do it myself because I learned that my brain doesn't process it correctly unless I do it like that. So with we have two programs there. We have Expo and we have Bad Lab. I am in the Bad Lab program. It's called Broken Arrow Design Lab. It is a human-centered world environment project-based class. And so basically we are making our world better, and we're trying to figure out solutions that helps our community, the people in it, the animals. There's anything that you can think of that has anything to do with our environment, while our expo program focuses more on the STEM and the STEAM aspect of things. So math, science, that's kind of theirs, the podcast studio and stuff like that. We also have some electives that go there too as well for some high school students. Like just a couple is agriculture, primitive skills, automotive, which is cars, which was by my former science teacher. We have improv. We have health and sciences for nursing and nursing homes and stuff like that, taught by my math teacher. And so
cool.
we've got tons of things like that. And so instead of us having like a gym or a library or something like that, we have a workshop and an ag room.
Wow. That's super cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I guess that makes more sense in Oklahoma though. Agriculture is so ingrained in just Oklahoma culture in general, so that makes perfect sense. Love it. Okay, well, let's dig into kind of chat about Young Athena because you joined, and it was kind of actually something really special as well because you actually flew in from Oklahoma. So for the listeners here that wouldn't know, we host the summer program at Grand Canyon University in a classroom at GCU. And so in order for Brekken to attend, she actually had to fly by herself from Oklahoma all the way to Phoenix. So talk to me a little about, you traveled really far to be a part of the program. So what motivated that? I know part of it's going to be your mom. Shout out to Jen.
Yes, shout out to my mom. She was amazing for that. She was Dr. Lori was like, hey, and hit my mom up and was like, there's this event that I think Brekken would excel in. So my mom talks to me about it, and I'm like, sure. I mean, I'll go to it. And my mom's like, well, you have to raise this much money. And I'm like, I have to what? Um,
Yeah.
and so I ended up raising enough money for it. But I had to, because I mean, my parents just with I have a younger brother, he's 11.
Hmm.
And so they had to stay here and stuff like that and during the summer. So I had to fly by myself and they came. Um, Funnily enough, my flight there was over 3.5 hours late.
Hmm.
So when I was supposed to leave at like 10:50 in the morning, I almost didn't leave till 1 p.m. and didn't end up
Oh,
getting to Arizona till like 3 Oklahoma time.
yeah.
Um, and so that was terrifying. I was with my parents the whole time, but it was like, what do I have to do? I had to move gates. I had to do stuff. I had to go through all these things by myself. And I was like, what would I have done if my parents weren't there? I probably would have had a full on panic attack if nobody would have stopped me because I'm
Yeah.
like, I wasn't listening. I had no idea I was supposed to change gates.
Yeah. I know. Luckily, I don't ever know that information either, so don't feel bad. I mean, I'm definitely grown. I've traveled all over the place. And if now most of your flights, they'll send you an email. And like that's how I figure it out. I
Yeah.
have the apps too, and so the apps will actually send you when your gate changes. So luckily, what just happened on my flight back from Jamaica was like our flights were
Oh,
delayed. They moved our gate like 3 times, and I was like, I would never have known if I wasn't getting these updates on my phone. For
I
sure
probably
would
got
have
the
been
updates on
late.
my phone, but I'm not a big
Yeah.
email person. So I have
Yeah.
like 120 that I have to still look at. So
Oh, that's
I'm not
funny.
an email person. I am a text and a call.
Yeah. So, when you walked into the room that morning and there was like a room full of other young women, what like went through your mind when you first
I
joined
was
Young Athena?
so scared. Um, New people, new environment. I've been to GCU before because my mom is a graduate there, and had recently got her doctorate from GCU as well. So I had been there, but I'd never been inside the campus before. And so, as much as Dr. Lori had told me about it, I walk in there and I see people that I've never seen before. I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, what did I get myself into? For a little bit, I was kind of like, I don't fit in here. I don't like, I don't think I should be here. I don't feel like I belong here. But you made it very comfortable and very safe feeling. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I do belong here. Maybe this is where I find my people and I find what I'm passionate about and stuff like that. But I was definitely nervous for almost half the session, the time that I was there, because I was like, if I say something wrong, am I going to get looked at? If I do something wrong, is it going to be like, am I going to be shunned or something like that? Um, Again, it's always my anxiety that kind of ruins those chances for me. And I was able to say, like, this is not what we're going to do. We're going to take that anxiety and we're going to push it to the side. We're going to be like, this is a new opportunity. It's like you flew over across a couple states by yourself. So if you can do that, then you can fully talk to a room full of people that are only a couple years older than you are. Because considering the things that I have done before, this is nothing. It was the easiest thing I could have done.
Yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. So, what was it worth the trip? I guess is what I'll ask you. Kind of the overall hierarchy. Are you glad you attended Young Athena
I'm
and like
so
endured all
happy
the
that I
flight?
did. I learned so many new things. I learned so many new things about myself. And when I'm all feminist, I'm all for women, stuff like that. But it was the fact that like it was a young women's and how to teach you how to be confident in yourself, how to just be confident in life and stuff like that. And I've got a good amount of confidence, but there's always some days where I'm like, maybe I just need something a little more that's not just confidence. And so I learned that self esteem and that my mind and everything was valuable and that there was no reason to try to hide it. And so I love that I got to learn all these new things because being at Vanguard, once you have an idea and you express it to somebody and nobody in particular, they will try to do what they can to get that idea out. Like with the podcast studio, we said, hey, we need something for a podcast studio. And they're like, well, why don't we just make one? So now we have our study pods, and it's literally just a podcast studio because one student said something to a teacher and they raised the money. We got all the products for it. And so Young Athena taught me that if I learn all these things, that I can go and I can enhance that here in Oklahoma, hopefully expanding the Young Athena to my Vanguard school so we can have more people out there and we can know that there's more to life than just what you're doing right now.
Oh, I love that. What is something you learned about yourself during the program that you weren't expecting?
I learned that I am a kinesthetic learner.
Mm.
I learned that I like to doodle and stuff like that. At first, I thought I did it because I got bored and my brain just stopped stimulating. But I actually learned that I studied a little bit better when I was doing something like that. Like at the Young Athena event, there was coloring pages, and I colored like 4 of those while she was talking, but I realized that I retained the information really well, and I've always been a reader, I was and a visual person. I thought that's what I was gonna have that's what I was gonna get, but then when I learned that I got kinesthetic, I was like, "Wait, what?" After being told my whole life that you are a reader and you're a visual person, but nobody ever explained the thought of being a kinesthetic learner, and so I thought maybe it was wrong or I did the wrong answers on the test or whatever it was, but then now I'm like, "Oh, well, now that I look back at my school years, I doodle and I draw a lot while I'm at school, but not because I'm getting bored, it's because I need something my hands need to do something while my brain is also doing something." And so I learned and I put that into perspective, and I learned that it's actually really helpful to do that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because okay, so for the listeners actually on the pod, we give the young Athenas an assessment called the VARC assessment, and it actually teaches them their learning style. So we unlock their learning superpower. So what Brecken is sharing is that in her VARC, she actually learned that she's a kinesthetic learner, and then we give them tidbits on how to be the most successful with that learning style. So just to summarize that, like kinesthetic learners have to learn with their hands and they learn by doing. So a part of our Young Athena program was we actually provide coloring pages for them to doodle during our sessions because we know that that helps stimulate their brain to retain the information. So it's a cheat code for any parents out there
Yes.
if you want to give your kids a VARC so that you know how to engage their brain in the best way. We
I'm gonna
have
give it
it
to my
for you.
brother.
Yeah. But I love that because now you're using it to your advantage, right? Like you'll spend this whole upcoming school year sitting with that a little differently because now you know what your learning superpower is and how to truly engage your brain to get the most retention. So, oh, I
Yes.
love that so much. I love that so much. So, what tell me about a moment during the day where you felt like really seen and connected because I know that in the beginning you were saying you kind of felt disconnected. So at what point did that like kind of flip the script and then you felt like you actually belonged in that space?
It was towards the end when we had moved to the cooler room of the, facility, when we
Mhm.
were talking about our friendships, and I had mentioned that I had previously kinda lost a good friendship with my friend Sonora, um and I was gonna say it because she had because Kaylee had called in somebody else, and so I was like, "It's probably not important to say anyways," but she insisted, she was like, "Hey, you should say it," and I did, and she says, "I'm really glad that you said that because I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that have had that exact same experience," and she had said, "Raise your hand if this has happened," and everyone raised their hand in the room, and I was like, did my story just like bring out something good in some people? Because she's like,
Mhm.
I wanted you to say that because everybody has experienced the same thing that you've gone through, and it made me feel seen, and that I didn't just get brushed off because someone had been picked before me. It was a, I picked this person, but we're gonna come right back to you, and it's not a I'm putting you down or anything like that. It's just a I'm gonna pick this person, then we're gonna come to you.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny because I didn't even realize that that had happened, but I'm really glad because I do follow when I present and I facilitate, I follow the energy, and I just felt like whatever you had on your heart to share needed space, and so I'm glad that I got that reading right because I remember
Nice.
because you were like, actually, it's okay, and I was like, no, no, bring it
Yeah,
out,
it
let
made
that
me feel
heart
really
open.
seen, and it made me feel
Yeah.
good. So
Good. I love that. Was there a time during the Young Athena that you found yourself speaking up or sharing other than your situation with Sonora that felt like bold to be shared or like maybe something you
um
wouldn't have normally shared if you weren't in a safe space?
the sharing of, like, kind of the trust in my family and stuff like that when I mentioned it, of being with my grandma, and she's kind of got a narcissistic personality, and so I definitely wasn't on the verbal abuse side of it, but I was definitely pretty close to it.
Hmm.
It was just verbal enough that it at the time wouldn't be considered verbal abuse, but it was enough abuse mentally for me that it definitely crashed that self-esteem for me because I was like, you're being over here and you're being all buddy buddy, but now you're over here and you're criticizing me for something that that I'm doing. Even though she was like, "Oh, it's not a big deal," but now it is. And if it wasn't for the atmosphere and the vibe that was kind of in the room, I don't think I would have been comfortable enough to share that. But it was good getting it out and sharing it to you and to anybody that was listening. And it made me feel a lot better that I was able to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes it's as simple as like someone holding space for you to actually speak your truth, that makes you like having your voice heard, and not just having it heard, but having it heard without judgment and then held with responsiveness, right? Like, oh, okay, that's a really tough experience. And then we always say your family knows where your buttons are because they're the ones that put them there. That's
Yes.
definitely a young Athenaism.
I
Yeah.
definitely agreed
So,
to that. They definitely push my buttons a lot.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's hard because even as you like grow out of it, right? Like I haven't lived at home in a long time, and now I look at it and I'm like, holy guacamole. Like there are some people in my family that still are just as irritating, and I have to remember that my power is in my silence, my non-responsiveness, right? Non-reactionary, where I can actually observe and see what their words are for, because most of the time it has nothing to do with me. They just need some place to
Yes.
dump their trauma, right? So yeah, I'm so glad that you felt safe enough to share that, because it's so valuable to be in a community where you can actually share your truth and like it's held without judgment. Like that is one of the very foundations of what we do. That's why I always say it's like Vegas, but for you all, I'm like, you've never been to Vegas probably, so that you wouldn't get the
Yeah.
relevance of it. So then I'm like, oh, Young Athena is a safe space. It's a container that's created for whatever needs to come out. So
Yes.
yeah. So did you made some friends while you were there, right? Was there anything that like came out that inspired you from their stories and like your table shares, things like that?
It was definitely cool kind of knowing like the people who were the introverts and the extroverts there, showing that like maybe they could have been an extrovert, but they had that introvert tendency. And it was like, I definitely wouldn't have thought you were an introvert. I would have thought like you were extroverted or something in between. And so learning just the different kind of personalities and the vibes of people was definitely really kind of inspiring to show that not everybody is exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the beauty of the way that we facilitate that program is it doesn't really matter whether you're introverted or extroverted. We'll hold space for both because both are
Yes.
important, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
bless your introverted heart, and I'll make sure everyone reads and I'll make sure everyone participates, and like we go out of our way to do that. And then like the gentle nudges of like, you're a leader, you can read it out loud. You're a reader,
Yes.
you can report out in the share from your group findings, right? So we definitely do a lot of nudging, but it makes it a super easy like environment to where you're like not like, ooh, I have to, even at the end, because you had to stand up and give a speech at the
Yes, that is
end,
true.
right? To get your certificate, right? And
That was a
so,
little bit more
oh,
scary than flying by myself, honestly.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, because a lot of our introverted friends are like, oh my gosh, I have to stand up and say something in front of this room. And that is the majority of the young Athenas that graduate. We give them like almost 2 weeks to write their speeches, and they will stand up there with like papers and they'll write a speech. Now, your program, we just give you like, give us your key takeaway from the day, and then that's how you get your certificate. So it's a little milder, but also just as important to build that muscle, right? Like that public speaking muscle is definitely a muscle that you have to build. Some of us
Yes.
are better at it than others, but I remember being like 17 in the Toastmasters program. Like maybe I was 18 at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to stand in front of a room of people. And then now it's like my job. I get paid to stand in front of rooms of people and like talk about things.
I've learned
So
that it definitely gets made into being a big deal while you're off the stage of not having to do it. But then I get up there, like I'm all nerves and everything like this, and I get up there and I'm like, that was like 5 minutes. What was I panicking about in the first place? Because it's like for me, that 5 minutes was absolutely nothing. But for other people, I understand that it's completely could be life changing for them. But for me, I've always been kind of that outgoing, loud, will kind of speak up person depending on what the situation is. But it's always like, what if I do it wrong? What if I say it wrong? But I get up there and I'm like, that was actually really cool. And I was like, can I do that again? Just like wanting to relive that process because it's like, what was I anxious about? Because it wasn't that hard for me.
yeah. Some of us are just naturally like born to speak, but I think we get all in our head over the judgment piece of it, right? Like,
Yes.
what are people going to say? And how are they going to look at
Hmm.
me? And like all of that. And it took me a while. It took me actually becoming a yoga teacher and like facing my fears, because I had like a big fear of teaching a yoga flow. And I like was like, what are the words and what are the positions and what are these? And I would like panic over it. And then after a while I was like, what am I doing? Like, anyone who comes to my yoga class has no idea about the flow that I wrote. So they're not going to know whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So then I was like, this is weird. Yeah, so it's super funny, but I always tell the young Athenas too, like, it's not the Grammys. There's not going to be an article in the newspaper about you tomorrow. Like, what you say in this room will be okay. So even if your speech is 5 seconds, you're fine. You'll be okay. Yeah, I
Yes.
love that. What do you think was the hardest part of your day? And how did you grow through it? Was it the connecting with others piece that you were just mentioning that maybe was the tough one?
Uh, I would say that that one was definitely a little hard. But I think really the hardest part was just like trying to get over the fact that like my anxiety was overtaking it. And I'm a little bit better at learning that once these thoughts come in, it leads to a panic attack. And nobody likes panic attacks, no matter who
Mm-hmm.
you are.
Fair.
But I'd like to say that I've matured and I'm able to learn that these thoughts cause panic attacks, these thoughts don't. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think I've gotten a little bit better at trying to train myself saying, like, just because you're saying this doesn't mean it's true. Just because you're saying this doesn't mean it's true or that it's going to happen. So the hardest part was honestly just trying to almost trick my brain into thinking that this is the good place. This is where I'm supposed to be. Um, and then outside the Young Athena was bearing to the heat because in Oklahoma, we don't have dry heat. We have humidity all over. Like it's 60% humidity in my house right now. And
Right.
I'm dying inside my house. So, and it's hot because it's summer. But that was the one thing I was like, I can't do this. The amount of times I said I'm dying, like it was too hot there for me.
Right. It is. I mean, and you were here during a really hot time too. It's actually
Yes.
for July, it's been kind of mild. Like I think it's been in like the 107s, 105 to
Should have came in
107.
July or something.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But typically it's a little fiery in July and then in August it gets humid and it's hot. So it's like it's way hot. But I'm glad you endured
It's
it.
just hot year round there. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how
for
people
sure.
live there.
Yeah. It's what we do. And you know what? We build up to it in the summer and then the winter's so beautiful and then by the time we get back to summer again it's already miserable and then we can't, it's like hard. Like some people are like, yeah, I get it, I'm used to it, and then other people are like, no, I complain all summer. That's just a part of it. I've lived here my
I'm
entire
definitely
life and
a I'm definitely a person that's like, oh, I wish it was cold weather, and then as soon as the cold weather hits, I'm like, I wish it was summer again. I'm
right,
definitely that person.
well,
Because
you
at the
get
time, I'm like, I need
snow.
it to be freezing, but then I'm
Right.
also like, can I have the sun back, please?
Yeah, exactly. So how has the program changed how you think about leadership or even how you lead your own life right now?
It showed me that like how follow the leader is that yes, you can follow a leader, but it doesn't always mean that that leader is going to be correct. Because there are many different examples of what people think of what a leader is. Because there could be things where it's like the blind leading the blind. Um, and I definitely have leader tendencies, but I also kind of have that bossy leader tendencies. So I learned that even though I want to take control of my own life, and that's perfectly 100% okay, I also need to learn that not all leaders have to do it by themselves. That's why leaders sometimes have teams. And so I've learned that accepting help and asking for help is okay. It's not a show of weakness or anything like that, or even showing that you're not smart enough to do this or something like that. And I struggled with that. I still struggle with it with my whole life. Um, but I've learned that I can ask for help and people are more than overjoyed to help me when I ask because they're like, yeah, sure. It's like, it's no big deal at all. And me over here panicking, thinking I shouldn't ask them. It's going to make them upset. It's going to make them not like me, all these
Mm-hmm.
things. But then as soon as I ask, they're like, oh, yeah, that's no big deal. And they got it done in like 10 minutes or whatever my problem was. And I'm like, what? Because it just happened so fast. And I'm like, so all this anxiety for no reason. And it's just like a 10-minute ordeal. And I'm like, why did I just psych myself out of doing this?
Right. No, but that's a lot of women in especially in the leadership space feel like if they ask for help it's a burden to the others. But we have no issue overpouring over and over and over again, right? We naturally want to help. We naturally, like if someone came to you, Brecken, and was like, hey, can you help me with XYZ? Our
I'd say
natural
yes.
tendency is to be like, yeah, I got that. That happens to
Yeah.
be my space. Or if I can't help you, let me find you a resource that can, because I might have
Yes.
one in my network, right?
You just
But
described me, basically.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, so some people are, especially as women, we just are so, there's so much trepidation behind actually asking for help and support. Like it's, like we might be burdening them to ask. And that just comes
Yeah.
from, I think sometimes it's how we're raised. Sometimes it's like when you have friends in school and you ask for help and they like scoff, make you feel like a burden. Like there's so many reasons that we end up with that programming. But when you are plugged into a community like the Young Athena community, you really quickly figure out that like all we want is to love on you to get you to grow. Like
Yes.
mentorship circle on Tuesdays, Ashley hosts those. You all have full access to my calendar. You just have to book it on my website. Like it's super powerful, the amount of community that comes out of Young Athena. So I'm proud of you for like actually being able to like lean into that. Like it's okay to
Thank
ask. And
you.
even though there's some like anxiety that happens in the beginning, that ask is also a muscle and you have to use it in order to figure out how to make it all work together. So I'm super proud of you for leaning into that.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. So, after going through the full experience, what do you feel like the next steps you want to take in your leadership journey are? What's next for you?
I want to implement the Young Athena and I want to bring it to Oklahoma. I've been kind of thinking about it, and my mom was like, "Why don't you bring it to Vanguard?" And I'm like, I never thought of that. So shout out to my mom again. She honestly, just kind of going off track a little bit, wouldn't have been possible without her determination of getting me to do it because I definitely feel like I would have psyched myself out. But now I learned that I hold myself to a higher standard, and my mom, believe it or not, my mom was actually right. And all that pride and stuff. And I'm gonna fully say that I still love her for it. And I could have asked for someone better to push me through this. And so I'm hoping that me and her can take this to another level, bring this into Vanguard and get the women and maybe even try to do it where maybe like because I know a couple of the male teachers at my school are definitely like they're like, I got you, girl, and everything like that. And I know that there's some that would be overjoyed to help me and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like it would be a really cool experience to get to bring that Arizona Young Athena experience back to Oklahoma so I can implement it and then hopefully get it like big enough that you guys could do an interview or something or a video showing it to my school where people have the opportunity to ask questions and stuff just like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I love that. Well, if there's any way we can support you, let me know. If you
I
wanted to
will.
do summer program or you wanted to nestle it into the curriculum in the year round, like as a year round program, we do both. So happy to
Okay, cool.
support what that curriculum looks like. Yeah, at GCU it would be kind of a similar. We do a 10-week program, and it's
Okay.
actually offered as part of a class. But for you, since you're in high school, it might be more like an extracurricular right after school, something like that.
We
But
have
yeah,
lots of those
always,
actually. So,
yeah,
yes.
so definitely something. And then also, if you needed me to make guest appearances, you just let me know because I do love to travel. And I have friends in Oklahoma, so wouldn't be
Oh,
sad to
awesome.
travel there to visit for double
Yes.
duty. So, yeah. So, any final thoughts? Wait, I want to back up a second. So, that's
Okay.
program development. Okay. So, you want to implement
Yes.
a Young Athena program at your school. I want to know
Yes.
about you. How are you leading your life differently after Young Athena?
I'm definitely learning that I'm taking a little bit more initiative in kind of regular things uh at my church. I serve at my church on Sundays and it's like we have cleanup after our 1 o'clock service. And so it used to be where I would just go off and I'd kind of like hide almost. So I wouldn't like have to really do it because I didn't like the idea of it. And I mean, I'm I'm a teenager. I don't think a lot of teenagers like cleaning in general. And I had to get over the fact that it wasn't cleaning, it was helping the church so that they could be ready for the next week. And so
Mm-hmm.
I learned that once I actually did it, it's not really that much work. So I took that initiative and I told myself at this point, just kind of like, as like respectfully as possible, just suck it up and do it
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't really that bad as I thought it was going to be. Um, and so now I gotta take that more initiative with things. So now, like, even when it's not, because I do hospitality where I serve the drinks and our snacks that we have. And so now it's not just that, I do it in multiple areas in my church, whether it's in the auditorium or even outside greeting and just bringing water or something to the people because it's hot outside and they're standing outside and doing stuff like that. It's like, well, before young Athena Brecken, I don't think she would have even psyched herself to do this, but now after this event, I'm learning that like you're a leader, you can do this. And I did it, and it's not that bad. And so the Young Athena program showed me that you are a leader, whether it's a leader that you haven't seen yet or a leader that you have seen, but it's also showing that you can grow and you can make a difference, whether it's being a leader or just even doing something and following through with the action that you had thought of.
Yeah. Powerful. I love this so much. Any final thoughts that you would give, or any advice that you would give to a young person like yourself who is thinking about joining Young Athena?
Yes, going back to my school, we have the 4 pillars of Vanguard, and one of them is sacrifice and comfort for growth. And so that's what I would say to anyone my age, or even younger, or even older, is sacrifice and comfort for growth. Because, like you said, once you get out of that comfort zone, it's not as bad as some people think. Like, yes, there are new things that maybe like you should maybe jump into right out of the bat, starting small. It's like going to the Young Athena event was stepping out of my comfort zone. Flying by myself was stepping out of my comfort zone. Staying at somebody's house that I've never met in person before, stepping out of my comfort zone. Doing this podcast was a bigger jump out of my comfort zone, going by little steps and learning that it's okay to take those baby steps. And sometimes it's okay to backtrack. You don't have to stay out of your comfort zone all the time, because there are times where um, that like you'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then other days you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. And you're like, and that's okay. You go back in your comfort zone. Like for me, I'm in my comfort zone like 3 days out of the week, but the other couple days I'm like, let's go do this. Let's go walk outside. Let's go do all these things. And I'm like, that's okay that I don't want to do this day, but it's not the fact that I'm just staying and I'm hiding inside the whole time.
So good. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for jumping on and sharing your story with us.
Thank you
We
for
loved
having me
having
again.
you. Yes, of course. We loved having you here with us for the summer program, and then also you just sharing your absolute wisdom. For being as young as you are, your heart holds so much wisdom, so I can't wait to see all the places you go. So
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. Thanks for now being an official Young Athena and such a special part of our program. And again,
Yes,
if
I'm
there's
super excited for
anything
it.
we can do to support you on your journey to starting a Young Athena in Oklahoma, you just let me know and we're happy to support.
I will definitely reach out to you guys.